name's David Shering and I'm the skipper on board UBIQUE of Hobart. So UBIQUE of Hobart is what we class a Bristol Channel cutter, which essentially is a small version of a Bristol pilot cutter. And these were the big boats, the big wooden boats in the turn of the 18 and 1900s, where they would actually race out to the big clipper boats that were coming into the Bristol Channel. So of course they had to be incredibly quick, but they also had to be incredibly seaworthy, because when you need a pilot it's generally when the bad weather's there. So these boats behind me are small baby versions of these pilot cutters that were fast, were very, very seaworthy. And this particular class was actually designed to go around the world. So essentially it's a circumnavigation boat. And that's one of the reasons we bought it. We'd love to be able to do that when we get a bit older, a bit more experienced. Give us 10 years to get used to the boat and learn, and then we might be ready for that. I'd describe ourselves as adventurous novice sailors, I think. So we'll happily go out in fairly larger conditions, but what we'll try and do is reduce the canvas on the boat, because she's actually quite a powerful boat when you have all the sails up. So she's in big weather, and of course the channel's quite fluky in terms of the way the wind can build and drop and so forth. So we'll probably reduce canvas compared to most people. Just because we've got kids on board, we want to make sure they have a great time. They love sailing, they don't get big scares, and so yeah, that's why we enjoy it. So almost all conditions really. We have obviously a very beautiful, very fluffy border collie that's very much one of our first mates on board. And the great thing about Indy, our border collie, is that she's found her sea legs quite happily. She goes everywhere we go, and I think she's probably got the strongest bladder control of any dog I've ever seen. She can handle it no problem at all, being on board for so long. But yeah, she's a great addition to the family. Great thing about UBIQUE is she looks like an old boat. She was built at the wooden boat school at Franklin. The big advantage is that when you have the students there, Chris Burke was the gentleman who actually built the boat. He still lives down in Tassie. He's built actually a number of these boats, and is very respected around the area. And the boat was actually used as an example of really high-end craftsmanship around. So it doesn't look like a wooden boat on the hull because of the way that they've actually used splining, little triangle chunks or lines of wood that they actually plug the seals with between the planks so you can't see them. So she looks like she's probably a glass boat. She's actually fully wooden throughout. But they're of course to that older spec. So the bowsprit is very classic for an old heritage boat, and essentially what it does is move the whole sail plan forward, makes the boat a bit more powerful. You can essentially get more sails on the boat for the length of boat because essentially you're extending it. I just think they look fantastic, and they're great fun to sail as well. And an ongoing kind of competition to see who can get the biggest swan dive from the bowsprit, and if you go right to the end, it's actually surprisingly high. So you got to kind of build up the courage, and my kids are gradually working their way along to the end of the bowsprit. Great fun diving off on a hot day. It's the perfect place to launch a big dive.